one more thing. Don't acknowledge it.
I love how that starts the podcast. Welcome, everybody, to the Toku Portal Podcast. I'm the long-awaited return of Vashi V.
The Decade.
The Little King.
And Rai.
And today we're talking about Uchuu Sentai KyuuRanger episode 41. So we open with Shishi Orion piloting the battleship, but we immediately cut back to earlier on the bridge with Sho explaining the plan to reach planet Southern Cross. And then we get the episode title, Space 41, Break in Planet Southern Cross. To break down the barrier, Gigan Ho, Orion Battler, Ryuteo, and Kureno need to use the 4 Q-Tamas simultaneously at 4 points around the barrier to break it. Garu agrees to pilot Super Kureno in Lucky's place. Caesar and Garu have been getting along well recently, and Garu can even understand what he's saying. This will be important for later on. The Rangers bring down the barrier after defeating some dark matter. We cut to a masked figure kneeling before Donarmage, who commands him to eliminate Shishi Red. While eating, back on the bridge, everyone's eating, Caesar correctly guesses the stuffing of a rice ball with his sense of smell. This is also going to be important. What did you guys think?
Jumping straight into the action with Megazord fights to get out of the way, I can appreciate that. And I know there's gonna be a lot of flack towards Garu this episode, so I'm just gonna get my thoughts out of the way now. I don't mind that he and Caesar understand each other. I think it's cute for the episode. I know I'm probably gonna get hit for this. I think it works. And I do think it is cute. So I will leave it at that. You boys can bitch on him all you like, because God knows he deserved it this time.
I also don't mind that he can understand Caesar. Hell, I don't even mind that they get along. I wish we had gotten some more build-up for this. I mean, it's only been a few episodes since Caesar was introduced. I wish we had gotten a bit more of just Garo talking to Caesar, even if it was just a background thing. Hell, if it was a background thing, that would have made more sense for right now, where people are just now noticing it.
Like, I have no problem that they understand each other. At all. I have no problem that they get along. In theory, they're both animals. I mean, one's a furry, but whatever. But they're both animals. The fact that they can understand each other, it makes sense that they would find some way to communicate. The fact that there was no preface for it whatsoever, and the explanation that was given is the reason I have a problem with it. Like, if they would have literally just dropped the explanation for why Garo can understand Caesar, I'd have been fine. I wouldn't have cared. I would have just passed it off as, oh, cool. But no, it's that weird subplot that Garo is in love with Lucky. And that's the reason why he can understand Caesar.
And translator, decisions aside, after that, I'm pretty sure Garo actually is crushing on Lucky.
Because it's been a consistent, the first time it got said, we have everything else that's popped up with the way Garo has worded things. Like, saying he looked hot in the jacket. What he said this episode, a couple episodes ago. It's all tying into, I'm Garo, I have no justification for this, but I'm in love with Lucky. there's more standing ground for Raptor being in love with Spada. That has been more explored than this has. Like, I have no problem if Garu is in love with Lucky. Cool, whatever. More power to him. The fact that it's literally just added in, it seems to be added in just for the sake of adding it in.
Yeah, it is quite strange. So yeah, Tsurugi, Sho, and Raptor walk in and explain the plan. They have to break into Hell's Gate to bring down another barrier around the planet. The battleship will remain in orbit in stealth thanks to balance. They have 30 minutes to complete the mission, so that's how long the stealth will last. Balance uses the Kogitsune Q-Tama to cloak the ship. Sho tells everyone to be careful. They say OQ, and then the episode starts. So, yeah, that was quite a jam-packed opening scene. The Rangers arrive on a giant bridge guarded by a horde of Indabi. Garu, Balance, Champ, Spada, and Kotaro stay behind to fight while the others head to the barrier controls. However, the masked swordsman from earlier arrives and asks for Shishired. The Rangers start change off screen. And Caesar, who I guess tagged along, seems concerned by the enemy. Lucky, Tsurugi, Hami, Naga, and Stinger arrive at the control room, but it's guarded by the chief retainer of the system, Southern King. The Rangers start change and fight. Southern King invites them to join Dark Matter like he did, and explains that he was once the king of the system, but he gave it all to Don Armage for power. Kind of like Scorpio. And he says that pretty much all that await the weak citizens is plunder and oppression. Yeah, pretty hardcore stuff. The Rangers refuse, and Southern King uses an illusion attack on them. So, thoughts so far?
The idea that they literally have to pass through something called the Hell's Gate in order to get into one of the most feared planets in the entire solar system, very clever on their part, I will acknowledge that. And the monster itself, if you've seen the Gokaiger Goseiger crossover, you'll know him as the Black Cross King, but I actually did like that they used this one. It's one of my favorite monster suits, so that was pretty cool. And the thing about him being a crappy king, yeah, like Decade said, hit close to home with Scorpio, and probably gonna ring a few bells with Lucky. Not in the sense that he's a crappy king, but, well, we'll get to that.
So Garo is much more enthusiastic this episode. And yeah, his whole thing is that, he gets excited easily. But this episode especially so. Which made me think this was going to be an episode about him. And then it ended up not being one. And I feel like they could have been writing Garo a bit more in the past. He feels like a wasted character at this point. Like here, he actually felt a bit more involved than any other time. Other than that, it's nice to see them all working as a team here. When they make their initial upfront charge. We're getting into the final arc here, and we're finally getting to the point where they're actually feeling like a team and not a bunch of people that fight together.
Yeah, there's they really feel like a team at this point. It's even Kotaro feels more like part of the team at this point than he has up until here recently. But yeah, it's I saw scans for this episode and stuff like that, and the, for lack of a better term, spoilers that were given for it, which for the most part, have been fairly accurate up to this point. This one was just straight wrong. Which I'll cover the spoiler a little bit later. But yeah, it's like this entire setup made it seem like this was going to focus on Garu. Because that's how the episode seemed to start. It was all about Garu. And like I liked him in this episode. I really did. Despite the dumb choices that they've made with his character to this point, I did like him in this episode. But because of how they've written him up until this point, it's kind of underwhelming. Like everything that happens gets kind of like a notch off because of the fact that he is so underwritten. And it's kind of annoying when you get down to it. One other thing that in this entire scene that irritated me is apparently we can only get one henshin in roll call. I guess we can't do it because we get Lucky and them's henshin later when they actually start fighting, but everybody else is forced to henshin off screen. Like that kind of sucked. I was hoping for like the 2-team henshin, which, given information for the next series, should not be that hard to do.
You went there. We will see about that. Yeah, so Southern King uses an illusion attack, putting them in their own personal nightmares. Tsurugi is plagued with guilt for Cuervo's death. Hami, Stinger, and Naga are in terror as well. But Lucky stands still as he sees his father. The illusion begins attacking the other Rangers and demands that Lucky helps him. On the bridge, the other Rangers are out cold with the exception of Okami Blue, who is determined to protect Lucky. Caesar attacks as well, but is knocked away. Gato picks him up and is told something that shocks him. Yeah, so that was kind of rough to see Champ and Balance and everyone just totally out. This villain is not messing around. What did you guys think?
Oh god. Okay. Yeah, seeing the bridge and Gato being the last man standing, that was harsh. Like, him just being pummeled on and he's still not quitting after all that, and then adding shock on top of all of it from whatever he heard. It was well shot and well short, yes, I think well portrayed. The illusion thing, okay. I will be perfectly honest with you guys. I was terrified when I watched that. Like, oh my god, seeing Tsurugi like screaming in pain as Cuervo's just taunting him, fire everywhere, and he's got green blood on his hands. Just him trembling the whole time, screaming. That's the... I will commend them. They know when to go dark, and I feel like they did. Was I the only one who was curious to figure out what the other three were screaming about? Because
No.
besides, okay, well, I was at the very least, and oh god, Lucky just... I can understand why he wasn't scared. I mean, besides the whole thing on Cayenne, he never really saw his father in a light that scared him. Until now, when he basically nearly slaughtered everybody who came with him. So, I can understand why he wasn't as terrified as they were at first, but it was still hard-hitting. Like, to see them cut down by his own dad and Tsurugi fighting back like that, I can understand where he's coming from, at least. And yeah, it hit home, so very well done.
Tsurugi's was very well done. Because we know that he actually still feels really bad about Cuervo's death. He still feels like it was his fault. Uh, on the other hand, however, all we saw for Stinger was him hunched over screaming, and I couldn't take it seriously. It looked so bad. It just looked too ridiculous. But I imagine that he was hallucinating about Scorpio, his brother. He probably still has some regret that he couldn't help him. And then I had already figured, like, so Naga is going to be screaming about Balance before Naga even shouted Balance's name. Which brings me to something interesting. Naga actually looks afraid. So the running gag with him is that he doesn't know what emotions are, so he can't express the right emotion. But what's interesting is that, like, joy, sadness, anger, like, there's like a standard for what kind of facial expressions you typically make for those emotions, but those aren't actually universal. You don't have to be smiling to be happy. But when it comes to fear, there's always like a distinct way to tell that someone is afraid. Naga didn't need to learn what fear was to express it. And you can see it in this scene. It is brilliant. My only question is, who is Hame seeing? For anyone else, even the people that weren't here, we could figure out who they're probably thinking of just based on what we know about them. But we don't know enough about other people that Hame is attached to. And as for Lucky and his father, what I like about him is that what he's afraid of isn't him hurting his father or anything like that, or even his father getting hurt. He's afraid that his father isn't the man he thought he was.
Like, my only issue with that last bit is everything we know about his is the information that we have from Lucky. They tried to work the subplot that Lucky's dad betrayed and joined Dark Matter, but that was somebody else, and they did the hey, we killed his dad because he didn't do it, because he didn't join us, so we killed him. That's what we were told. So in Lucky's mind, his dad, he shouldn't have that fear that his father's not the man he thought he was. So it's like, it makes sense that this kind of falls through. And with everybody's, with Stinger and Naga, like you said, Rock, everybody knows what can pretty much surmise what they're seeing. I'm not entirely sure on what exactly was said by Naga. So there's two possibilities for that. Stinger's is obviously the regret of Scorpio, in him feeling that it was his fault that Scorpio died.
All Naga shouted was Balance's name, and Hame just screamed some generic stuff.
Right. Like, Stinger screamed out, "I didn't do it." So he could obviously be seeing the fact that, like Suguri seeing Cuervo, he's seeing Scorpio. Balance is either, or Naga is either seeing Balance die, or in his head is killing Balance as Dark Naga. Either way, it would fit. Hami, we have no fucking idea. Her history has been so overlooked. Literally, all we know is she was on a planet with ninjas at some point, and
that's where she grew up.
Right, and that's really all we're getting about her. We've had a little bit of character development with the whole Dark Naga thing with her, but beyond that, she's been entirely overlooked. Oh, that, and she's a fangirl of the Magic Stag Beetle person. But beyond that, it's like we have no history for Hame, so we have no idea what the hell she could be screaming about. Which I feel this would have been like the perfect time to kind of give a little bit to her, because they could have taken that entire cut down the scene from Suguri, because again that would be fairly obvious that he would feel responsible for Cuervo's death along with everybody else's death that died because he failed in his mission. So he feels responsible for their deaths. That makes sense. So they could have cut that down and given some sort of, look into Hami's head at that time. It's just, yeah, so that was my biggest issue, was Hami, and the fact that Stinger really didn't look scared. He just looked weird. I did like that when Balance was screaming and all that, he was still like his, lack of a better term, clumsy self, like that kind of robotic kind of movement that he has with emotion. It was like that was a nice touch, that at least his character still feels like Naga in the way he moves and the way he acts, even when he is showing emotion, and genuine emotion at that.
Yeah, I think Naga redeemed that scene pretty well. So yeah, on the battleship, Raptor can't contact either team. They only have 10 minutes left until the stealth ends. Lucky struggles to decide between his father and friends until the illusion repeats Southern Cross's line about plunder and oppression. Lucky painfully smashes through the illusion, freeing the others. Lucky remembers the honorable king he was, or that his father was, unlike Southern Cross. The Rangers start changing roll call during the fight. Well, before that, I thought the fight was pretty nice. Sho calls in and lets them know that they only have 5 minutes. So Lucky changes to Shishi Orion. We get his awesome theme. The others break through the barrier using the 4 Q-Tamas again. Lucky cleverly makes Southern Cross attack himself, or Southern King, whatever, and defeats him. Yeah, he attacks himself with his illusion and sees Don Armage punishing him and defeats him with Infinite Blast. I think all of that was pretty well directed and choreographed. The Rangers find Garu's team. Garu is determined to protect Lucky, but he is stricken down by the swordsman. Lucky changes, the others evacuate the wounded, while Tsurugi, who shows a moment of physical weakness himself, tries to retreat with Lucky. He's knocked out of his transformation. Lucky and the swordsman attack each other. The swordsman's mask is broken, revealing him as Aslan, Lucky's father. He begs Lucky to run away before hologram Don Armage explains that Aslan is possessed. Tsurugi and Lucky retreat. On the bridge, Lucky is furious after seeing the condition of the other Rangers. Episode end. Pretty intense, I have to say. What did you guys think about all that?
Okay. I got the first fight out of the way. Very clever on both sides, figuring out the barrier trick and the own illusion thing. I thought was very clever and very well choreographed, like you said. That fight on the bridge, I know Vashi's probably gonna make some throat glove jokes, so I'll let him have that. But it was hard. Them all like struck down like the Garu, of course, and seeing everybody back on the ship, like Tsurugi and Stinger taking care of Garu, who's probably clinging to life at this point. Balance and Champ just shut down. Probably not gonna regain consciousness for a while. Spada and Kotaro barely conscious as is, just so they can get healed at all. You can feel like the tension and just one thing that the KyuuRangers have tried to emphasize in their campaign the whole damn series so far has been, we are a hope nobody else is gonna get unless we give it to them. But now you're seriously starting to feel that go away, because we're done with the bullshit. I'm just gonna be frank, because we're literally in the main Jack Matter territory at this point. We are down 5 people, most of them barely hanging on. Just the fact that these are the guys who have given hope to countless people and God knows how many planets, only to feel that drain from themselves as we finally face what we've been meaning to face for so long. It's a powerful hit to the gut, and I fully commend them for that.
The team fight is amazing. Naga going right for the paralysis, Stinger following up on it, and then the others just going in for the strike when he's vulnerable. Like I said, this is getting into some real teamwork here. It's just a shame how short-lived it is before it's just like, alright, Lucky fights him solo now. Kind of unsatisfying, actually. Especially since this episode hasn't focused that much on Lucky for him to deserve it until after the fight. Despite that, though, this was really good. I love the little karmic retribution for him, getting caught in his own trap. And then when it came to, like, when it came to the reveal, like, a bunch of us thought that the swordsman was going to be, like, Garo's brother. With the way the episode opened up, with it seeming like it was going to be about Garo. And like Vashi said, there was when the image first appeared, someone speculated that it was going to be relation to Garo because that's what it seemed like. So it was a bit of a shock to see that it was Lucky's dad, which I'm kind of unhappy with. We already got a resolution for Lucky's dad. Like, he was dead. Lucky just had to succeed him when he can. That was it.
So this basically throws in Lucky's legitimate claim to the because can you succeed somebody who's dead who didn't technically abdicate the because he never did. It was just kind of forcibly taken. But like I said, they thought he was dead, so it makes this kind of underwhelming. And with, like I said, with reading the spoilers from the scans that came out, it's one of the issues that there is with reading these, with checking spoilers, because it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, you know things that are going to happen before they happen, so it kind of takes the fun out of seeing it, you know, for the first time in the episode. But usually that's overshadowed by the fact that you're actually seeing whatever you're looking at in motion, in action, and it's still kind of awesome. But I was so prepared to see Garo's brother that when I saw Lucky's dad, it was literally, wait, what the fuck? It was because I wasn't prepared for it, so it kind of hit a little bit weird for me. Like, I understand why that they would use this as a, for lack of a better term, final test for Lucky. But at the same time, it's kind of annoying. Also, it's good to know that, you know, Don Armage found Dogold's armor. It's good to know it's getting put to use, even if it's been modified. I had one other issue with it, with the final scene on this, or at least not the final setup. Is you have all this buildup of Garu being badass, you know, last man standing, still trying to strive to protect Lucky, which was amazing. I'm not taking anything away from how amazing this was, but because he's been so underdeveloped as a character, it seems it doesn't seem right for it to be him, because he's been so looked over and been played up as a joke character, that it kind of takes away the impact of him being badass. Other than that, it's like the entire ending I enjoyed. As I was disappointed that they used Shishi Orion to defeat Southern King, except for the fact of it makes sense that they would use it, because as soon as he switched to that form, it's like, oh, so that's how they're going to do it. Because we already know he has the teleporting powers and the portal thingies, and it was one of those, yeah, he's going to use it and get it turned back on. The one thing I liked about that was when they did his teleport up to the top where Southern King was. The way they did just the pan over and there he is, it was a very nice way to do the teleport without covering him, without actually showing him teleport. It's the little things in camera work and like that this series has gotten so much better with. And it's the camera work that I'm really enjoying, the camera work, especially coming off of watching shows like X-Aid, who did phenomenal with camera work. To see amazing camera work in KyuuRanger, it makes me happy. I like Rice says, like, now with that final scene of Lucky seeing everybody on the bridge all fucked up, it makes it feel like there's real consequences and there's real trouble, on the horizons. Like, that this isn't something that's just going to be easy and simple and done with, the way that most final arcs with Sentai has been feeling lately. This one feels like there's real consequences, real pressure and stakes. Because, I mean, literally, we didn't really get to watch it, but a 10-year-old got his ass kicked by Lucky's dad. It's like, this is not... You can use the excuse of this is what he signed up for. He's fucking 10. Or whatever actual age Kotaro is. And, here he is being treated for wounds that, no 10-year-old should suffice. I get the warp aspect of it and all that. But for Lucky seeing it, it adds to that, well, shit kind of thing. Is like, it makes the stakes feel that much higher. I'm done now.
Yes, so that was the end of the episode. Final thoughts. I really enjoyed this episode. I think it has its problems, but overall, it was pretty good. A lot of good camera work, like Vashi said. Fighting was pretty decent. And I'm looking forward to how they resolve this turn of events.
I know that this episode had its issues, and I did like the up moments when it had them. But if anything, I feel like this was a really good setup for what was to come, because as we've clearly said this podcast, shit has hit us hard, and this is not going to be something we're going to pick ourselves back up from that easily. It's do or die time. Maybe quite literally. So, props to them for setting up for what was to come, because I get the feeling we are far from done.
This was a really good episode with a phenomenal ending. And I really look forward to what it sets up for next episode. Just by my feeling that, like, we should have moved on from Lucky's father already, I look forward to seeing what this does to Lucky. Just the way he noticed what happened to his team at the end of the episode, and the realization of, my father did this to them.
Like, despite the issues that I loved this episode. It was amazingly done. And in terms of, like, Lucky's dad, the reason why this will play out so well is literally because of what he saw when he was in the illusion. This is literally what he saw. His father whooping everybody's ass. So it adds to it. Like King said, shit is literally starting to, to escalate and all this. And, this is the point where somebody needs to be behind the fan because shit's hitting it. And this has been one of the better setups to the final arc that like I said earlier, seen recently. And I'm very, very excited to see how this affects everything going forward, especially Lucky. Because, damn. And I guess that's the end of the notes. And
So thanks for joining us, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Later, taters.
Thank you all for listening. If you guys enjoyed it, please check out previous episodes. Be sure to check out next week when we return for the next episode of KyuuRanger. For those of you interested in Rider or wanting to hear what Rider is all about, be sure to check out our podcast tomorrow for Kamen Rider Build. I am Vashivi. Thank you all for joining.